Hi, my name is Carly McAvoy, and today we're doing Lesson 9 for the ABE 064 class, which is word problems. We've been having word problems in most of the assignments already, but today we're going to just have word problems that are all mixed in. You have to decide whether you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing to do them. The first 5 questions come from answering questions from the chart that you see here on the screen. And so I'm going to change the questions a little bit because I want you to be able to read the chart on your own, but we'll do similar ones. I'm not going to answer your question, but I'll answer something similar. So looking at this, we have up here it says beef calories and nutrients for 4 ounces of meat. And all the values have been rounded to whole numbers. We haven't worked with decimals and fractions yet, and so all of these are as close as I could get them. I did round them to the nearest whole number so that we could work with just whole numbers on here. This is from the website freedieting.com. This is their information, however accurate it is. And so we have all different kinds of cuts of beef along the left side, just to help you understand how to read the chart. This is the different cuts of beef. The first one is beef, either top sirloin, it's got separable lean and fat, trimmed, pan-fried, that kind of thing. That's how it's cooked. The beef chuck or clod steak, it's lean, it's trimmed, 1/4 inch of fat, and braised. Beef ground, so ground beef in crumbles, pan browned. And then ground beef that you pan broil. When you broil something, more fat drips out, so it's a little less, you think, a little less calories going on in there. Beef round tip round or tip round, all the fat's trimmed off of it and it's roasted. So the first question says how many more calories are in top sirloin beef compared to beef chuck. Instead of answering that, I'm going to say how many more milligrams of cholesterol are in beef sirloin compared to the round beef. So looking at the top beef sirloin, the cholesterol is 112. So you go down each of the categories. So I'm asking about top sirloin cholesterol, so that's 112. Compared to the beef round or round tip, that is 104 milligrams of cholesterol. So when I'm asking you how many more cholesterol in this one than in this one, what am I talking about operation-wise? And it's subtraction, because when I ask how many more, that's the difference of. And so that's a subtraction problem. So for our problem, the problem that I just said, we would take 112 and subtract 104. And that would give us the difference, or how much more cholesterol there is in this than in this dish, which would be 8 if you tried that problem. 112 minus 104 would be 8. If you ate all beef meals shown in a week, about how many total milligrams of cholesterol would you have eaten in beef products? That's your second question on the screen there. So let's say instead I ask you, what if you ate all 5 of these? What would be the total fat that you would have taken in from beef products that week? So all you would do is, if I'm looking for a total of something, then what operation am I talking about? The total would be addition. So for number 2, this is an addition problem. If we're talking about total fat, I would add up this column. If we're talking about saturated fat, I would add up this column. If we're talking about protein, I would add up this column. Calories, this column, and cholesterol, this column. So it's just a matter of adding on that. Okay, what if I ask you the average amount of calories in all these meats? For number 3, I'm asking about an average. In order to an average, what operation are you talking about, or operations? You add up everything and then you divide by the number of add-ins that you had. So if I ask you the average number of calories in all these meals, you would add up the 5 columns or rows and then divide by 5. That's how you would find the average amount of calories or protein or fat. Add and then divide. So that would take 2 different operations to do that. Again, I'm not working these out because I want you to work out the word problems, but I do want to talk through them so that you've seen them. It's only going to be helpful if you've printed out your sheet and you have that in front of you. So number 1 was how many more calories, that's subtraction. Number 2 was what was the total, that's addition. Number 3 said what's the average amount, that's addition and division. So those are the different operations that you want to read. And then number 5 is just asking you to look closely at our chart and answer a question. So let me ask you a question about the chart. If you were looking for the type of meal you could eat, the beef meal that you could eat that had the fewest amount of calories, which one would you choose? The fewest amount of calories is 187. That's the smallest number, so that you would choose beef pan-broiled. Okay. If you were looking for something that would give you the highest number of protein, you would choose the top sirloin or the ground beef pan-browned. If you were looking for the lowest amount of saturated fat, the smallest amount of saturated fat would be here, the ground beef or the round beef. So those are the ways you can look at the chart and answer questions about the chart. So the first 5 questions are all about the chart. Sometimes you have to add, subtract, or divide. I think number 4 we should look at. That takes 2 different things, but let's read this for a second. A serving size of beef is 4 ounces. Julie ate 16 ounces of beef for a bet. If she was eating chuck steak, how many calories did she consume? Where's chuck steak? Right here, beef chuck. So she had 310 calories per serving. So the thing you want to find out for number 4 is how many servings did she have? Well, what we want to know is how many 4-ounce servings are there in 16 ounces. So how many times does 4 go into 16? 4 times. And so then she ate 4 times this amount, right? And that's multiplication. So we did division to find out how many 4-ounce servings are in 16 ounces. So division first. And then we did multiplication to say, okay, that was 4. So then 310 times 4 is going to tell me how many calories that they actually consumed. So please try to do these problems on your own. And then you can check your work in class. I'm going to tell you the answers to these. I didn't work them out because I want you to try working them out, showing your work, and then you can check your answers. Number 1 is 44 more calories. Number 2 is 511 milligrams of cholesterol. Number 3 is about 31 grams of protein. Number 4 is 1,240 calories. And number 5, that one I'm not going to tell you the answer to. I want you to look at the chart and see what you can do, and then check with your teacher and see how you did on that one. This one you want to eat the most amount of protein, but at the same time get the least amount of fat. Which beef would you choose if you're looking for high protein and lower fat? Okay, the rest of these I am going to work out. They can get a little more complicated. They are a little more complicated. I know that they're kind of hard, but it's good to practice reading a word problem, understanding what they're asking, deciding what operation to use. It's an entire method of that. And so when I get to number 6, I didn't really talk about this when I was doing division, and I wish that I had remembered to do it, so I'm going to do it now. Remember back when we used to have something like 34 times 1,000, and I said that the shortcut is just that you would have 34 and then you would add 3 zeros to the end. That's very easy to do with those powers of 10. But that's not good. But I also want you to know that you can use those powers of 10 for division and give yourself a shortcut for division too. So that's what's going to happen in this word problem. We're talking about dividing. And let me read the question to you. According to thefabricator.com, That's a website. Fabricated metal products industry recorded about 10 injuries per 100 workers in 2003. And that was way higher than the national average, so it's kind of a dangerous workplace, obviously. If there were 403,000 workers in that industry during 2003, how many injuries were there? 4,003, that number is 403,000, excuse me, is it's too high of a number, but I just picked the number. I'm just saying, what if there were that many? How many injuries would there be? So I want to divide by 100 and I want to divide by 10. So I know that I'm going to be dividing by powers of 10. So let's look at the shortcut for powers of 10. If I have something like 570 divided by 10, all I do is I have 1 0, so I'm going to cut 1 0 off, and that would be 57. If I had 6,200 and I divided by 100, I have 2 zeros, so I would cut 2 zeros off, and that would be 62. If I had 6,400,000 and I divided by 1,000, how many zeros would I cut off there? Well, 3 zeros, I would cut 3 of them off, and I would still have 6,400. So you don't take all your zeros, you only take off the number of zeros that you're dividing by. But that's a nice shortcut that we could use to do this problem. So let's read the problem again and get the numbers that we need. There were 10 injuries for every 100 workers. If there were 403,000 workers, how many injuries were there? So first thing you want to do is know, well, we're talking about injuries per 100, so how many hundreds are there in 403,000? This particular word problem, to me, there's no great keywords that jump out. So it's kind of reading it and trying to figure it out. It's a tough one. And so I wanted to work through it with you because it is a harder one. Okay, so I want to figure out first how many hundreds there are in 403,000. In other words, I've got all these people from 0 to 403,000, and I want to cut them up into little 100 chunks, because that's what we're talking about, is how, injuries per 100. So I'm asking the question, how many sets of 100 are in this problem, in this number? So I'm going to take 403,000 and I'm going to divide by 100. And when you divide by 100, how many zeros would you take away there? You take away 2. So you get rid of these last 2, and that would leave 4030 sets of 100. Okay, so now from 0 to something smaller than that looking, from that to 4030, now I'm interested in how many little sets of 10 are in here, because 10 people for each of these sets of 100 got injured. So now I'm taking 4,030 and I'm dividing that up into tens to see how many people actually got injured. 4,030 divided by 10, how many zeros am I going to take off? I'm going to take 1 0 off, and that's going to leave 403. So there were 403 injuries. If there was 403,000 people working in there, 403 people would be injured, 1 out of every 10. And when you get into decimals and fractions, there's other ways to work this problem that would probably be faster, but you got to work with the tools that you have. So that was the division problem. 2 times you divided, but it didn't really jump out that you were going to do that. Okay, let's look at number 7. I think this one you're going to be able to tell me what operation a little easier. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says that the median amount of pay for automotive service technicians and mechanics is $35,790 a year. I found that I didn't have enough space when I worked this problem, so I'm going to just get rid of some of the spaces. Add spaces from somewhere else. Okay, hopefully you've had time to think about that. There were automotive service technician and mechanics, $35,790 per year. If there were 723,400 jobs in 2010, how much were all of these mechanics making altogether? Now, altogether is a little tricky word because it could mean two different operations. One, it could mean addition. If we're talking about addition, we would take 35,790 and add it 723,400 times. 723,400 times. Keep adding and adding and adding. Well, we could be here for a long time doing that. So what's the shorter way to do this problem? Which operation? Multiplication. So we want to take 723,400 and multiply 35,790. And it's a little bit tricky because the numbers are so big and cumbersome. 723,400 and the other number, which I am not good at remembering numbers like that, 35,790. Well, when I did this, I just dropped the zero straight down in sort of a shortcut, but I found I got a little bit tripped up doing that, so I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to say the first row, obviously, is all zeros. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the 9. 9 times 0 is 0. I've moved over 1 because 9 is actually 90, so that's why I put that 0 in there. And then 9 times 0 again. 9 times 4 is 36. 3 times 9 is 27, and 3 is 30. 3, and then 2 times 9 is 18, plus 3 is 21. And 9 times 7 is 63, plus 2 is 65. Now I'm going to be doing the 700, second place over, so it's a 700, so 2 zeros. 7 times 0 is 0, 7 times 0 is 0, 7 times 4 is 28, carry the 2, 7 times 3 is 21, plus 2 is 23, carry the 2, 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16, carry the 1, 7 times 7 is 49, plus 1 is 50. Now I'm going to be doing 5,000, that's 3 zeros, 1, 2, 3. And now 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 4 times 5 is 20, carry the 2, 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1, 7 times 5 is 35, plus 1 is 36. You need to practice this multiplication, just make sure you can. No, it's a lot of zeros and a lot of work there. Okay, now I'm going to do times 30,000. 3 is in the 30,000s place, so in the 10,000s place, so I'm going to have 4 zeros. Then 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0 again. 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10, carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 times 7 is 21. Add all that together. Now I'm ready to add that to see if I get the right total. I did this one earlier just to see if I got it right again. There's so many places you can make a mistake, right? 18, 19, 20, 8, 5, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. So the total amount of money that people made working in that industry was 25,880, 486,000. 25,880,000,486,000. 486,000. Now, when I did my work earlier, I had a different number. 3612. So I'm going to say, look at my work for the third row, because that's what was different right here. I strongly suggest you do this twice. And if you don't get the same number twice, then you want to look back and check your work. So I'm going to go through that because that row was different when I did that. I'm multiplying by 5. So definitely I have, that's 1,000. So definitely I have these 3 zeros. I feel good about those. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0 is 0 again. 5 times 4 is 20 and carry the 2. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 2 is 17. Good. Carry the 1. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11. Carry the 1. 5 times 7 is 35 plus 1 is 36. Now when I go back and add this, here I have a different thing and I found a mistake. It actually matches my original ones. I feel like that's correct. When I add these up, I have 11 and 7 is 18, 19, 20. Put a 0, carry the 2. 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is what I think was wrong about my answer. That's what I think the correct answer was. How did I find a mistake? I didn't just go grab a calculator or even just have a teacher do it. I did it the first time and then I did it a second time. Second time my answer didn't match my first answer, so then I went back and said, what's different about it? And I did that row again. Didn't have to do the whole thing, but I did that row again and found a mistake. Hopefully when you were watching me do this the first time, you found me making that mistake. Unfortunately, I can't hear you saying to me, no, stop, you're making a mistake. The answer then is that industry made 25 billion 890,486,000. The mechanics made back then in 2010. Okay, I believe that that one is correct, so let's move on. That's just being careful, not making a mistake. Okay, number 8. The General Sherman is a giant sequoia tree is considered to be the largest living thing on Earth based on its volume of 52,500 cubic feet. So your refrigerator has like 8 cubic feet in it, right? So this is pretty big. In 2002, scientists calculated its age to be about 2,000. So we're going to say it's 2,000 years old. Sometimes in these problems, I put numbers in to make sure that you could go through and pick out what are the important numbers and what numbers can we ignore here, right? So if it increased its volume by the same amount each year, what was its average volume gain per year to the nearest whole number? So we're going to take 52,500. That's because we want to find its average. Sorry, average is division. So I want to find its average age. I don't have to add it up because somebody already did that, but I do need to do the division part. So I'm going to take 52,500 and divide by 2,000. 2 goes into 5 twice. So I know it's 2, but 2,000 doesn't go into 5, 2,000 doesn't go into 52, 2,000 doesn't go into 525, 2,000 does go into 5,250. So we're going to say 2 times 2,000, that's 4,000. Subtract. Then add, bring down the next 0. How many times would 2 go into 12? About 6 times. So I'm going to guess 6. 6 times 0, 0, 0, 12. And subtract. So I have 500 out of 2,000. I either want to keep that at 26 or go up to 27. How I decided, I look at my fraction. Is 500 about half of 2,000, or is it less than half, or is it more than half? And what you should be saying is it's definitely less than half. Half of 2,000 would be 1,000, right? So it's definitely less than half. So that would just be 26 cubic feet per year. Again, that word per, that's also a division signal. We want to know per year, average growth per year. And it would actually be in between 26 and 27, but for our purposes, we're looking at answers up to the nearest whole number. I'm going to add something in here. If it's, I'm going to add in as of 2002. Because what I want to make sure is that you don't say, well, now it's 10 years later, I got to divide by 2010. I just want you to divide by that number 2000 in there. Okay, in 1965, the oldest pine tree was cut, and the rings were counted to reveal an age of 4,844 years. In 1993, a giant tree in Chile was cut down and discovered to be 3,622 years old. What is the difference in age of these two trees? What's the key word here? It's difference. So we're looking for subtraction here to decide the answer to this. Sorry. Which one would be put first? Well, the minuend, or the number on top, should be the greater number. So we should be subtracting the 4,844 minus 3,622 to find the difference in these ages. And I want you to try that one on your own. I'm going to give you the answer in a minute, but you should pause it, write down that subtraction problem, and see what you get. And the answer to that is 1,222 years. So show your work for subtraction. I want you to be confident with subtraction at this point. Okay. Number 10, Quora.com says that Subway has opened at least 1,000 stores each year since 1987. If those stores were evenly distributed throughout all 50 states, there would be about 520 Subway stores per state. About how many Subway stores are there altogether? Well, I did put in some information in there that you can kind of throw out. If they were evenly distributed among all 50 states, which they're not, some states have more than others. The actual fact on the website said that right now there's about there's one store for every 13,000 people in the U.S. So of course up in Alaska you're not going to have as many states as you would have in New York State or in Southern California, but there's a lot of Subways out there. So 1,000 stores since 1987 isn't really what we're interested in. That's 25 years ago from now, from 2012. But we really are interested in this. If they were distributed among 50 states, there would be 520 Subway stores per state. How many states Subway stores altogether? Remember, altogether could be an addition word or it could be a multiplication word. Would it make sense to take 520 and add it 50 times? I don't think so. I think it'd be better to take 520 and multiply it times 50. 520 times 50 would tell you about how many there are. And that's not exact, but they did say on the website that the president of the company wants to get to where there are one Subway store for every 10,000 people. Right now it's at 13,000. They want to get that to where every 10,000 people have their store. Okay, I do this, jigger the 0 off to the side and drop it straight down. 5 times 0, 2 times 5 is 10, and 25 plus 1 is 26. So right now there's about 26,000 Subway stores all around. Plus there's ones in other countries as well. So that's just kind of interesting. Okay, and number 11, so that was a multiplication problem. But I also want you to remember that we didn't use the 1,000, we throw it out. Because really we're talking about 520 times 50 states. In 2007, people bought 690,589 Ford F-Series trucks. That was the top seller. 618,257 of the Chevy Silverado, and 473,108 of Toyota's Camry. How many of these top 3 sellers were bought altogether in 2007? So remember, altogether could mean multiplication, it could be addition. Which one makes sense for this problem? It makes sense for this problem that you would add those 3 amounts together. It's not like we're doing one thing repeatedly 50 times, which makes it good for multiplication, as it was in number 10. Number 11, we've got 3 different amounts. We just want to add those 3 together. Make sure when you add them that you line them up into the right columns and add straight down. I want you to try that one on your own too, because addition and subtraction I'm really wanting you to have down. But after you try it, then I want you to have this answer: 1,781,954. Okay, so this one was a multiplication problem, addition problem. The one before that was multiplication. The one before that was subtraction. Before that was a division. Before that one was division also. And these first 5 were all mixed in. So when you do this worksheet in class, they're not going to be in the same order, but you could expect to have some addition, some subtraction, some multiplication, and some division. In some problems, 2 steps, like when you find an average and you're adding things up and dividing. And I will have some questions about this chart so that you can answer those and practice reading a chart to answer questions as well. Okay, so word problems. They're hard because you have to read them and interpret them and then still do the math. So there's that extra stuff in there. But remember, if you take your time and read through it carefully and draw a picture if it's helpful, you'll get there. Okay, I'll see you next time. Have a great day.